Hey there, welcome to OnEdge Sports. I'm here with Austin and Trayvon, and today we are going to be giving out some awards for this past NFL season. So I'll pass it to our host, Austin. There you are.
So we're first going to go over Coach of the Year, and I would like to start off by saying I think it should be Matt Nagy, as he's done a great job in Chicago. Obviously, the defense has been stellar, but what goes kind of under the table is the offense has been fantastic. A lot of motion, a lot of swing plays, a lot of things that are short. Keep it simple for Mitch Trubisky. He's added some weapons. Tariq Cohen has kind of broke out, and Jordan Howard has taken a step back, but they're less of the ground and pound, more of the short passing game and tosses, sweeps, kind of a lot of those things that keep them relevant on offense, and they're able to still move the ball very well, even though Jordan Howard is not the player that we once knew him to be. Anthony Miller was a nice rookie this year. Trey Burton stepped into a nice pass catching role. And I just think he's done a fantastic job taking that team from last into first, and has a very, very nice team heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with Austin here. A nice record for the Bears moving in. Matt Nagy would be my pick for Coach of the Year. They're in the playoffs, something they haven't been in since they had Jay Cutler at quarterback, and since Caleb Haney played in a conference championship game. But you look at what he's done. They don't have any legitimate number one options at receiver. Allen Robinson isn't that guy that people thought he was going to be. But that hasn't hurt their offense at all. They run a nice spread offense like Austin was talking to. They move the ball around. Tariq Cohen, like Austin said, he's a Pro Bowler now. Huge step forward for him. And he took a team that had a good defense and put a good offense around it, and that defense is great now with the addition of Quilmack. So I think it's a no-brainer for Matt Nagy at Coach of the Year.
Go?
Yes.
All right. I think that I'm going to go against you guys. And again, it's going to probably be like a biased standpoint. It's going to be Anthony Lynn. I think that when you look at Lynn's whole entire, definitely last year within starting the season 0-4 and getting his team to 9-7, and coming out this year and improving to 12-4 and winning those close games now instead of those close games that we were losing last year. I think it's been a really big thing. You think about the impact that he's had to have with the defense. We had our best player on defense out for most of the year, and we were still winning games. I think that definitely can be a tribute to, I think he's changed his culture around a lot. Back when Mike McCoy was the coach, it was definitely more of a not holding people as accountable. Now, when somebody makes a stupid throw or somebody makes a dumb play or a busted coverage, he lets them know. He lets them know about it, and he lets them know he's disappointed. And I think it definitely has been a whole entire culture change within that locker room. I think the team has responded to him very well, being down most of the later games that we had. The game in Pittsburgh, the game in Kansas City. The team has definitely responded with a great motive and a great drive to come back and win, even when we haven't been the healthiest. And I think going into the playoffs is going to be really exciting. I think that he doesn't get enough credit really as far as how he turned that team around, because they are really winning the games that they were losing last year. And I think he's definitely been a very good factor in it. And I think he's overall been a great coach, keeping people accountable and finally changing this culture of the team.
Yeah, I think both coaches are very deserving of that honor. We're going to move on to the Rookie of the Year. Offensively, I have Saquon Barkley, New York Giants. A lot of people thought when they took him, well, maybe they should have went quarterback because this was a quarterback-loaded class, but I think they made the right decision. He's, like everybody thought, a generational running back. He's a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. He's very dynamic. He can run inside, outside. He's a pretty decent blocker in pass blocking situations, and he's just a guy that you can rely to have in your backfield. He's just a really special player. He has good drive. He's a smart guy, and I just think that's a great move for them.
I agree here with Austin. I have Saquon Barkley as well. You look at his statistically 2,000 scrimmage yards yards from scrimmage this year for him. The third guy to do that, and I believe the first two were Eric Dickerson and also Edgerrin James, I believe, as rookies. So quite impressive there for him. And you look at what he gives the Giants around them. He makes the offense flow a little easier. He gives them a pass catcher out of the backfield. He's a do-it-all kind of back, and he's a great weapon to have around Odell. And long-term, the Giants have a lot of pieces that if they can improve that defense and get a quarterback there, they could be a very dangerous team for a long time.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and definitely have the clean sweep of Saquon. I think that Saquon definitely has deserved it. I mean, hell, the first like one of the first plays in week 1, he takes the ball and completely destroys the whole entire Jaguars defense. And I think from right then you just knew that this man was special from the very beginning. I mean, I think that you look at him and like they definitely did not make a mistake at all with the second pick in the draft. I think they hit a home run pick, and there's not many of them that you're ever going to get like that. And yes, you could say, well, maybe they could have took a quarterback, because with Eli Manning, but I think that taking that running back was more crucial to set up a quarterback pick this year, and having Saquon to be able to lean on a rookie quarterback is going to be really crucial for him. And I think it's going to only further the development of whichever quarterback they decide to go with, whether it be the Ohio State kid or whether it be the kid from Duke. I think they definitely have a generational player and one that you're never going to want to get rid of. And it's just, you can't go wrong with adding.
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident that from all of us, we're big Saquon fans, as is the rest of the league. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I have Darius Leonard. He's a game changer. He's a tackling machine. He led the league in tackles this year, and he kind of helped transform the culture of the Colts defense from being known the last few years as they got walked on all the time. Anytime I had fantasy players against the Colts, I was starting them for sure because they could run all over the Colts. But I think this year the Colts defense stepped up in a big way, and I think the reason for that was Darius Leonard was the man that was able to kind of patrol the middle, great run stopper, pretty good in pass coverage, could improve in that a little bit. But I just think he's such a difference maker for this team, and for him to fall as far as he did in the draft, I thought was kind of crazy. I did not expect this kind of production out of Darius Leonard, but I think he's just a total game changer on defense.
Again, here I agree with Austin. I also had Darius Leonard as my Defensive Rookie of the Year. Not very often you get a tackle leader as a rookie. Another big thing is the Colts didn't allow any 100-yard rushers against them this year, which is a big improvement, as Austin said. Over the past couple of years, they've gotten the rap of being a terrible defense with good reason. They were a bad defense. But they showed much improvement, and I think it's just because Darius Leonard was the leader for them this year. He led them by example, and he made a lot of great plays for them, and he's definitely my pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I think you guys already know who I'm going to go with as far as Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. It's definitely going to be Derwin James for me. I think that when you look at it, this man is solid. He's played about 40% of his snaps away from his actual position. He's played defensive end, he's played cornerback, he's played free safety, he's played linebacker. They've lined him up all around the field, and this guy just makes plays. He's led the team in tackles with 103. He had 3 sacks. He's at 3.5, sacks per game. 3.5 sacks this year. He had 3 interceptions. I definitely think he could have got more sacks, but once Joey Bosa came back to kind of stop blitzing him, he was kind of that missing link, that Desmond King type player that they would have blitzing on the corner. But this man just makes plays. He transforms. He's a tackling machine every single time. He's around the ball. Like that ball's thrown there, and Derwin can be on the other side of the field. He's making his way over there with relentless heart, and I think that he just plays with this kind of like swagger to him, like that, like definitely like it rubs off on the whole team. The secondary of the Chargers hasn't been that good this year, but you can just tell they are confident playing with Derwin no matter where he is, and Derwin is confident playing anywhere on the field. And I think we haven't really seen anything like that from a rookie safety in a very long time. Like he literally can line up anywhere, and I think that that's why he's deserving. And his team, he kept his team afloat. He was the defensive, and pretty much has been up to this point the defensive anchor of this team. He is the guy, and they form their defense around Derwin.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about Derwin James. Very versatile player. For our most improved player, I would like to say I think it should be Christian McCaffrey. For me, it's by far the most improved player from last year to this year. 2017, he had 435 rush yards in 2018, he had 1,098 yards on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns last year, rushing the ball, 7 touchdowns this year. He had 80 catches last year and 107 catches this year. And his catch percentage rose even though he had a higher volume of targets. It went from 70.8% to 86.3%, which is a ginormous jump. And I just think he is very deserving. He was the guy that kept that offense afloat. Cam Newton kind of leaned on him because he really struggled throwing the ball this year. As you can see, he has inconsistencies in his game, and he relied on Christian McCaffrey not only on the ground to pick up 1,000 yards as he did, but he also got it done through the air. And I just think he's a very special player that you can really lean on, and he's a guy he's tough. He's now established himself as an in between the tackles runner, something that he really struggled with year one, but he was able to get tough, get through the line, and I just think he's a great player, and I think he's, put himself in the conversation as a top 5 running back now.
My most improved, I went defense here with Jalen Smith, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. He's gained 40 more tackles this year than he had last year. 3 more sacks than he had last year. He's up to 4 sacks this season. He had 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown. And if you want to talk about outside of statistics, the feel to the game he has, him and Leighton Vander Esch really helped that defense. As soon as Sean Lee went down again, they kind of took over, and that defense, it's rose to a point where they lost to the Titans, and people were questioning if Jason Garrett was going to last through the week, and now they're the 4th seed in the NFC. They're a very dominant team. The tandem of them two. You look at the rookie class that came in this past year with Saquon and Vander Esch and Baker Mayfield and Darius Leonard, and Derwin James and Denzel Ward. This might be the best draft class we've seen in a long time. And Jalen Smith, along with Vander Esch, have really helped transform that defense. Well, not transform it; they've been good, but they're the biggest pieces to that defense, and a lot of stuff goes through them. They go 53 yards sideline to sideline. And Jalen Smith, I think, improved the most out of all players in the league.
I'm gonna go with more so maybe a more so comeback kind of player, but he played last year, but he really was kind of hurt. I'm gonna go with Andrew Luck. Obviously, we talked about Andrew Luck and that MVP thing, and I think that it's pretty clear how he just transforms a team. I mean, just seeing the team how they were before, and he was I definitely could tell that looking at it now, he was probably hurt a lot more even when he did play last year, and more so now. And I just think that overall, just seeing how the offense just is completely transformed, not only because their defense is now able to put them in better positions, and he's able to capitalize them now. You could definitely tell, obviously, a difference between Jacoby Brissett and Andrew Luck. I mean, the team hasn't changed that much offensively, outside maybe the offensive line a little bit, but even then, the core pieces were still there, and him really excelling the career of Eric Ebron has definitely been really solid and really amazing. And I think that Andrew Luck definitely is maybe more so of a comeback player of the year, maybe more so than a most improved. But I definitely think that he's definitely going to be comeback player of the year, because he's just a phenomenal quarterback, and he's reminding us why he was picked number 1 and why the Colts felt comfortable letting Peyton Manning go, knowing that Andrew Luck was on the horizon.
That's a very good point. We're going to our last topic is a regression player that we thought regressed the most. And for me, it was Case Keenum. Last year, he had a phenomenal year in Minnesota. He came out of nowhere. He ended up throwing 22 touchdowns to just 7 picks. For a career journeyman, it was unheard of. And he was a guy that the Vikings, wanted to ride with, and they ended up going 13-3 and made it all the way to the NFC title game. Obviously, that didn't work out too well. So then they ended up letting him go, and he goes to a Denver team that was what most people believe was a quarterback away from being back in the playoffs, but really it has not worked out for him this year. He has a 18-15 touchdown to pick ratio, which is a lot worse than last year. His QBR from last year was 74, and this year is 47, which is a huge decline there. And he's also been sacked 9 more times this year. And I just think he's a guy that we all kind of knew was going to have this drop, but Case Keenum, once again, we have to remind ourselves who he is. He's a journeyman, and that's why the Vikings thought they should move on, because the stock was too high, and Case Keenum thought he was worth a lot more than he really should be. And well, he kind of proved everyone right that he is, just a career journeyman. And at worst, or at best for him, he's bottom 10 quarterback in this league, and I think that's how he's going to stay.
Yeah, that's a great point there on Keenum. I completely agree there. My most regressed, however, I chose Matthew Stafford with the coaching change with Matt Patricia coming in after Jim Caldwell left. And, it's still a same offensive coordinator there with Jim Bob Cooter, who actually got let go today. They mutually parted ways, but he's no longer there. He threw 8 less touchdowns this year despite being in the same system with an extra interception. Completion percentage was lower, and his passer rating dropped by 9.6, which is a massive drop from 99.3, which is comparable to around where Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady live for pass rating, and down to 89.7, which is slightly above the likes of Alex Smith and mid-level quarterback like that. So that was a big drop-off for Matthew Stafford. For where people expect him with his contract, he's supposed to be getting the Lions closer to the playoffs and not being the seller of the division. So
I've picked definitely based on like someone that I watched a lot. I picked Casey Hayward. I think that Casey Hayward, like last year, had the luxury of playing with an amazing pass rush, and I think that it definitely took him some time to really like get to not having that. With Bosa down, obviously, like we still have other rushers, but Bosa is definitely a player that you can't really replace, and you can't emulate him in any way, shape, or form. And I think having less of a pass rush definitely exposed him a little bit, and having to cover for way longer than normal. And I think that when he had comfortable last year, being able to have that luxury, I think it took him a while to adjust right back into it. I think that he's definitely been picked on a lot more, considering that people were more hesitant to go to the other side of Trevor Williams, who's been really solid this year, and definitely he's been the outcast of it. And definitely earlier in the year, people were learning that you can beat him by speed. You put a speed guy on his side, and he's more of like a press kind of corner, like more handsy than he is speed and keeping up like straight man to man with you. And I think people were able to expose that on him. And again, like it definitely, I believe it was a trailer to the pass rush, but here we are. And now he has a pass rush back. He still gets occasionally picked on, but he definitely has regressed out of his all-pro level like performances over the past 2 years. And I think it's definitely eminent, and it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I want to thank the viewers of OnEdge Sports as we're going to wrap up this football video. We will hopefully bring you more NBA content as the postseason is on the horizon. And I will also try to turn out more playoff videos as those games conclude. So thank you to everyone that watched.